All right, welcome everyone to our webinar today, 4 ways to increase your AI visibility, 4 ways to increase making sure that your business shows up in not just search results these days, but search results that are powered by AI. We're talking about ChatGPT, AI mode, those searches that are creating the answers for your customers and making sure your business shows up in those types of results. So if you are a business owner or a marketing professional and you're responsible for making sure that your business shows up in that way, then you are in the right place today, because we're going to hopefully give you some information that'll be helpful in your strategy as you're setting your business on the right course for this year. Before we dive in, if this is your first time joining us, a special welcome to you. We are Local IQ, an award-winning multi-channel digital marketing agency. We specialize in SEO, digital PR, paid social, PPC, paid search campaigns, display advertising, website design, pretty much you name it. We support businesses all over the country with those strategies, the full mix. And we're also a part of NewsQuest Media Group, which means when businesses work with us, they also get access to more than 200 trusted local news brands as well. So a great reach when you're working with us here at Local IQ. So for today, my name is Brandon Griffin. I'm head of B2B marketing here at Local IQ. And also on today's webinar, I'm really excited to have Alex Lindley. Alex is the managing editor at Semrush. I'm sure if you've been in the marketing space and digital marketing space, you've heard about Semrush, you've heard about Search Engine Land. Well, Alex, you're coming from that entity, that big titan. Thank you very much for joining us today. Maybe tell us a little bit about what your role is at Semrush.
Yeah, thanks so much, Brandon. So happy to be here. Thank you for having me on. Yeah, so I'm the managing editor at Semrush. I've been there for about 3 years. I oversee content quality and production and some strategy for our blog primarily. And so if you've been paying attention in the last 3 years in this space, then you know we've been overseen a lot of change, and it has been quite something to kind of be in this role during that time. But it's really an exciting time, which really feeds into why I'm excited to be here to talk about this today.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Yes, there has been a lot of change in the space, and a lot of us in the industry read the blogs on Semrush, on Search Engine Land, and so we look to you all for guidance as to like what's happening in this space and what our businesses should be doing. So I'm so happy that we have you, so you can give it to us straight in terms of like what's happening and the strategies that we should be taking a look at for our businesses. For everyone who's joining us in our webinar, and we've got a great number here today, this is our agenda. We're going to try to keep it very simple, easy to understand, and most of all, we're going to try to keep it actionable. So we're going to talk about why AI visibility matters now for your business, what it means, and then give you those 4 ways that we feel your business can implement this month to start making sure that your visibility is increasing on these search platforms. And then we're going to end it with a Q&A. So as we're going through, if you have any questions for us, you don't have to wait to the end. Go ahead, start putting it into the chat in that same area where you were just introducing yourself. Just put your questions there, and Alex and myself will see it, as well as some of our colleagues in the background, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. Today's webinar is being recorded, so within 24 hours, you'll get the webinar recording. You'll get all of the slides and the presentation deck that we're going to share with you in email. So don't worry, everything we show you, you'll get it into your inbox. You'll be able to click through, read more, watch more, all at your leisure. So just feel like you can just focus wholly on everything that we're sharing today. All right, so I think that's all that housekeeping. Let's go ahead and get started. Just to kind of, get that foundational understanding of what we're talking about here, everyone. Search hasn't disappeared in this space when we talk about digital marketing, digital advertising, but clicks are no longer guaranteed. AI tools are starting to now answer the questions for your customers, not just point them to your website to find out more information. It's telling them the answers of what they're looking for right there in that whole search engine result page. And so today is about making sure your business is discoverable and recommendable inside of all of these AI generated answers that are coming into the space. Alex, Semrush has been tracking this shift in this space really closely. You all have even put out a AI visibility index study report, of which a lot of the insights that we're going to cover today are extracted from. But can you tell us, like, how fast you all are seeing, AI search adoption accelerate, and just what did you all pull from this index report?
Oh gosh, yeah, so many things we pulled from the AI Visibility Index. But yeah, in terms of how fast we're seeing AI search being adopted, it's astounding. So we're seeing search behavior change faster than I certainly would have guessed. So the report highlights that ChatGPT alone, just ChatGPT, not counting any of the other LLMs, reports more than 800 million weekly active users and processes 2.5 billion prompts each day. Um, we also project in some separate research that AI search channel traffic is likely to exceed traditional search engine traffic by 2028. So put those together, and you can see that the shift is not theoretical at all. So brands need to be treating AI answers as a major discovery channel now.
And I mean, how do we get here, Alex? I mean, just over the years, it seems like you just wake up and every day it's different. But I mean, it's been a journey to get to this space, yeah?
Oh gosh, yeah, it goes as far back as 2014, and perhaps even farther. But this notable time when featured snippets were introduced to the SERPs. Those little snippets of text at the top of the results in Google that weren't AI, but they were a little preview of what happens when there's a fundamental shift in how search works and traffic is, stolen is one word for it, but taken away. Traffic that you were used to having. And of course, a lot happened between then and 2022. But in 2022, right after I'd started at SEMrush, we saw ChatGPT's 3.5 model come out, and it marked a turning point in November of that year. By 2023, Google had responded by expanding AI overviews. For a while, we called it SGE, Search Generative Experience, but now we know them as AI overviews. So that's AI right there on the SERP. And then in 2025, we had multiple AI platforms offering their own distinct approaches to search, including ChatGPT, which is a search engine now in its own right.
Yeah, a lot has happened. And for those of you who are watching the webinar who may not have been on this journey with us here at Local IQ, we've been following this whole thing, and we typically offer webinars where we do deep dives into all of these changes so that your business is prepared. So if you are familiar with any of the things that we're talking about, here are two webinars that if you watch this, after today, it'll bring you up to speed as to where we are here in 2026. So again, when you receive the presentation slides, you can click through to these particular webinars and get some more background information for yourself. So that way you have that context. Thank you for that, Alex. Another thing when I think about this, AI visibility isn't traditional SEO. We talk about AI visibility along with SEO, but AI visibility, um, it's whether or not an AI system truly understands your business well enough to use your business in an answer that it's generating. And that means like the mentions, the citations, sentiments, and even those like authority signals. It understands when your business needs to appear. Alex, can you briefly explain how SEMrush measures like visibility different than classic SEO metrics, and maybe even give us some of those like key terms that we should be keeping an eye out for?
Absolutely. So, you hear a lot of talk about, is search AI search optimization the same as traditional SEO, and there's certainly some overlap, but it's not the same though. For one reason in particular is that we have to measure it differently. We're not looking at impressions and traffic. Instead, we're looking at metrics like share of voice. So share of voice would be what piece of the pie, the conversation pie you have in a cluster of prompts. So things that people might enter into ChatGPT, for example, how often, proportionally to your competitors, are you showing up in those conversations? Um, Another thing we look at is prompts, right? Uh, we're used to talking about keywords in SEO, but prompts are what people enter into the LLMs, right? Into ChatGPT and Google's AI mode, and so on and so forth. These may feel like keywords in that they're queries being entered, but they're much longer, much more complex, and they bring much more context with them. Then we have citations. So this is when an AI platform responds to a prompt and actually links to your website, right? So you're basically being used as a source in the answer, and you're seen as an authority, right? And then we have mentions. Mentions are when an AI responds to a prompt, but then says your business name, for example, doesn't necessarily link to your business, however. And you might think that citations and mentions are one and the same, but in fact they're not. And I think we'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, one of the most important findings that I saw when I was reading the Semrush uh, AI Visibility Index report is that AI visibility isn't luck. It's actually something that is engineered, and businesses have to work in order to, try to make sure that you come up. And, high Google rankings alone doesn't necessarily guarantee your visibility in these AI search results. Alex, as you were reviewing the report and the findings, what were some of those findings that um, have surprised customers the most when you shared the research?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, there were many that I think surprised a lot of people who received the research. But I know for sure one was people finding out, understanding that AI search, the way it works, what matters, and how you show up and when varies by industry. It is not monolithic by any means at all. So somebody in one industry into the next, they might have some advice that overlaps, but really this is a highly individualized endeavor. And then, of course, user-generated content or UGC and reviews. These are you could call them the new currency of uh, AI search or search in general. So this is when people out in the wings who aren't a part of your business are talking about your business online. So leaving reviews or generating content related to your business. AI platforms see these as trust signals, right? And while this did matter, of course, for local SEO in particular, already and still does, it is to a much higher degree, as far as we can tell at this point, that for AI search. And then the brand effect is real. We've been talking about this for a long time. It's the impact of brand. It became real in a big way in AI search. So when a brand reaches critical mass, when it has enough buzz, enough people talking about it, it becomes the go-to answer to countless prompts that you would struggle to even predict that might call up an answer that includes your business. And it can be hard to catch up when you aren't that brand with the critical mass. And then technically excellent websites are a must. So this one makes me happy, of course. I like a good website. But you might think that AI, platforms are so smart that they really don't need some hand holding. But the truth is that they do. They need your site to be easy to understand. They need the text on it to be easy to parse. They need it to be crawlable and all of those good things. They need schema implemented in the correct ways. All of those things that mattered for technical SEO matter for AI search as well.
Thanks for that, Alex. All right, no, good deal and great summation there. Let's go ahead and get into the actionable strategies. I mean, the headline of today's webinar, the 4 ways that businesses that are watching can increase their visibility in these AI-powered search results. The first way a business can increase their AI visibility is by focusing on the foundations of their web presence and making sure it's AI ready. And I think we'll talk a lot about that technical aspect that you just mentioned there, Alex. Because if AI can't understand your business, then it can't recommend your business, right? And so I think that starts with the basics, making sure that your business has like correct listings, the accurate hours shown, the accurate services, and just consistent data like everywhere your business shows up online. So, Alex, from the AI Visibility Index report, what do brands that consistently show up in AI answers have in common at a foundational level?
Yeah, great question. So, at a foundational level, these are technically excellent websites with proper structured data, right? So they're crawlable, they've implemented schema in the correct way, they correctly describe their business, right? Additionally, they additionally, they are trusted in local and industry listings, right? So, particularly with Google AI mode, but all of the LLMs that we studied, they matter. They care a lot about Google properties, right? So your Google business profile, LinkedIn, Yelp, and actually external validation from all kinds of third-party sites. So the websites that are consistently winning have a good foundation laid already of reviews and content about them on these external properties.
Yeah, what's striking here is how much AI depends on that third party validation. And so, like, here is an example of some research that came from you all's report. This is OpenAI search results, and this is Google AI mode search results. And 24% of the time on Google AI search results, LinkedIn is showing up as a source. It's citing businesses from their LinkedIn profiles and 21% from their Google business profiles. And like OpenAI, ChatGPT, which is also affiliated with the search engine Bing, 151% of the responses that you all investigated and researched reference Wikipedia, 140% Reddit. So, like to your point, Alex, is making sure that your business is showing up, not just on your website, Google business profile, but even like your social properties, LinkedIn, Reddit, all of those matter because if you show up there, then that increases the likeliness of you showing up in these different results. Alex, if a small business fix just one foundational issue this month, what would you recommend them starting with?
Yeah, great question. And with all this change, it can be kind of overwhelming. So it's nice to have like a simple action to take. So I think I would focus with one quick thing that is really focused on making your business understandable to AI. So what I would do is open your Google business profile and check that the name, address, phone number, and hours are accurate, right? So completely accurate, no mistakes, no variations. Then confirm your primary and secondary categories. And bear in mind, these seemed accurate to you when you set them, but perhaps, things change, right? There might be new categories added, for example, or maybe you've started doing something a little bit different. So make sure that those still adequately describe your business. Then search your business name on Google. Go and find all of the listings out there for your business that come up and note any inconsistencies and just actually start looking for inconsistencies. You may not be able to note them all down. Instead, just write down three places that you find where your information is outdated, missing, or incorrect. You may be surprised to find that there are far more than three, but just start with three for now, right? So, like, why this matters, right? Why would we do this? Um, this matters because Google AI Mode in particular relies heavily on Google properties, Yelp, and LinkedIn as trusted sources. If you have mistakes about this foundational information about your business out there on sources like this, AI can't correctly or confidently identify you, and it won't recommend what it can't confidently identify.
Yeah, no, I get that. And that's a great place to start. I think that's something that's easy, attainable for everyone to just kind of try to make sure that you do. And I think we get it too because, I'm sure we've all been in that time where we've been confused, where we need to go to a store, we do a Google search to see, what time they open, what time they close, and then we drive the distance and we get there only to find out that they're closed or their hours are different on Google than what it says on the door. And I'm sure we all hate when that happens and how confused we are in that moment. Like, why are they closed? Is today a bank holiday? Is there something I don't know? Well, just as we're confused, AI systems can also be confused. So I get why it's important to make sure that the information about your business online is accurate and consistent. So good call out there. So in this section, we talked a lot about technical SEO in terms of making sure your website has the correct structure, setting up like your Google Business profile. So if you want to dig deeper into any of those concepts, we have a webinar that where we talked about advanced SEO strategies and cover some of those things. So again, another helpful resource as you are going through this at your leisure after this webinar, you can drill into that a little bit more for everybody that's watching. All right, let's go into our second strategy here. The second way a business can increase their visibility in AI search is by creating content that answers AI level questions. AI level questions is really important because AI doesn't think in terms of keywords. Uh, it thinks in terms of questions and scenarios. And so your content needs to be very clear and it needs to answer the real customer problems that your customers are having. Alex, from the data that you've seen, what types of content formats um, does AI typically like consistently pull into the answers that they generate?
Yeah, great question. So what we've seen is that content that can be quoted or summarized easily is generally very favored by AI systems. And what that looks like is it can be FAQs. This can work really well. It's just a direct question with a very direct answer, and the answer should use reflective syntax of the question, right? So you sort of restate the question in your answer. This is all part of what's called natural language processing. So content that checks those boxes can be great for AI. Also, service pages can work very, very well. Service pages kind of naturally, when they're done well, do answer these questions and custom scenarios that you reference. So they can be quite handy in getting quoted or summarized, cited, or mentioned in AI answers. But now I think we should talk a little though about the decision process that AI takes to choose content, right? There's a lot of content out there, as we all know, right? So there are two basic stages to how AI is choosing what content to surface in its answers. And now, just a sort of for the record, this isn't exactly how it works from a technical perspective, but this is me humanizing it just a little bit so that we can, talk about it in terms that are easier to understand. So first, AI asks, who's being talked about, right? Then it asked, who can back that up with facts? So if you want to win at stage one, you want to focus up on showing and review sites like Trustpilot, community forums like Reddit, and social media sites, LinkedIn being particularly important, but all of them do matter. Then to win at stage two, this is where your website really comes in and official documentation about your products and services.
And Alex, what would be us? Oh, I'm sorry, I've got to put that up on the screen. So this is what you had mentioned, where if you want to win at stage two, focus on your website, the Wikipedia entries, and just that official information about your product details. But Alex, as we kind of think about like how businesses can action this, is there just a simple page or content type that you feel like even a small business can realistically create that can support like both of these stages?
Yeah, that's a great question, Brandon. I would suggest really starting with your service pages, and really just to avoid getting too in the weeds here, I'd pick one. Just pick one to start, one service page, and then list three real customer questions that you've heard recently and answered them. So you may have heard them in person, face to face with the customers, or gotten them via your website, forums, or on social media, or anything like that. All of that is fine, but find three real customer questions, and then answer them. So that should become content that you add to the service page. So you can add this in the form of a short FAQ section that answers those questions clearly. So be sure to answer about your services in the FAQs, who it's for, so who your product or service is for, where you serve, when you're available, and what it costs. And if that's not applicable to how you do business, just something about how pricing works.
Got it. Got it. So for everybody that's watching too, if you feel like this is one of the action items that resonates with you and that your business wants to move forward with, if you need to know more about how to leverage content to generate leads and to show up in SEO, don't worry, we've got you covered. We've got another webinar where we've already covered this topic. And so if you want to dive deeper, you can just go back and watch this particular webinar as you review the slides. Four ways to create content that helps your SEO and convert leads. Good action item there, Alex. The third way a business can increase their visibility in AI search is by building authority signals that AI can see. And I think one of the another strong insight, you all had a lot of insights in this index report. You all did a really great job. And one of them was that being talked about and being trusted are two different things when it comes to, AI search results. And so, Alex, can you explain to us the mention versus source divide and why that matters in AI recommendations?
Yeah, so yeah, this was a really interesting finding. So the mention versus source divide, or you could refer to it as the mention versus citation divide too, if you wanted to. So it's a big idea in the report, but it can be boiled down simply. Mentions aren't the same as sources or citations. In other words, a brand can be talked about a lot in AI answers, but still not be cited as an authority, right? So meaning they don't get the link, right? So this creates two paths to winning AI visibility in these platforms. Number one, you can be talked about positively, right? Or number two, you can be referenced as a reliable source. Now, there is some overlap, but it's a lot less than you might think. Um, so,
And oh, go ahead.
oh, go ahead, Brandon. Sorry.
I was just going to ask if you can talk about this particular research piece and graphic here.
Oh, right. Yeah. So if you look here, the top 100 brands that are also top sources, right? So we have sorry, let me find my notes here. Uh, we have in take digital technology. 15 of the top 100 brands are also sources in ChatGPT and then Google AI mode. So then fashion and apparel, three overlap in ChatGPT, right? So
Mm,
between 3 and 27 out of 100 will overlap. So pretty low proportion, right, out of 100. So you can see that it's not just speculation. This is really happening.
I see.
Yeah. But to take it a little further, AI is constantly cross-checking information, right? So when it gets queried or prompted, right? Um, so it's looking at things like local press, niche publications, and reviews. These are all sort of acting as trust validators for these AI platforms, right? So for small businesses, reviews and local mentions are some of the easiest, like, so-called authority signals to earn. But remember, only 3 to 27 brands are achieving both mentions and citations. AI references on average about 5 sources for every 3 brands mentioned, and reviews are a core trust signal. So bring that all together, and you can kind of see the importance and impact of being out there, being talked about, being a part of the conversation. This is what AI is trying to approximate for its users.
Yeah. So, Alex, what would be a realistic authority building plan that a small business that's watching today could implement over the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, great question. So, I'll give some options. So action steps you could take. I would choose one of the following. One option is you could go out and ask 5 recent customers for a Google review. Now, importantly, please provide the direct link to leave the review. This is just one of those basic things where you don't want to add any friction for them, where they have to go find how to leave the review. Many people simply won't do it. So give them the link. That's one option. Another is to pitch one local or industry publication for a quote or feature. So That would be something like reaching out to a local newspaper, for example, and saying, "Hey, I'm an expert in," and fill in the blank, whatever it is that your business does. I'd love to comment on, whatever's going on, or there's a story idea for you, or hey, my business is doing this really, really interesting or cool thing, and I think it would make a great feature for your publication, and explain why. Make it compelling. Um, Third option is go out and claim or update one industry directory listing. Um, so all three of these options would be great to do. But if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're just trying to get your feet wet a little bit and get started, I would just choose one of those. They're all going to have an impact because they all amount to a trust signal being built about your brand.
Yeah. Alex, I like how you said, one, when you're asking for a review, don't forget to give them the link. And you want to make that process as frictionless as possible. That's really important. When you set up that Trustpilot profile or that Google Business profile for your business, you probably won't have any reviews. And so it's important to create awareness about that. I was just visiting Manchester a couple of weeks ago, and I kid you not, every business I went to, the employees were asking me at the end of the service to go to Trustpilot, to go to Google Business Profile, and leave a review. I remember I got a business card on one, and it had the QR code, and the other person brought it to me, and it was like on the receipt. And both of them, two different businesses, a food establishment and then a recreational place, they both had like this personal appeal to the point to where they said, if you do this, my boss said that for every review that mentions my name today, I'll get like an extra 5 pounds on my check or something like that. Or maybe they had some type of competitive competition among their colleagues and coworkers or something. But whatever it was, it made me feel bad, like if I didn't actually go and do the review. And so finding different ways and strategies to move your customers to then go and make that review not only serves your business in that instance, but it's also sending those signals to AI that says, hey, yep, this is a business that we should show, and it's a credible business. And then the other thing you mentioned, Alex, was about pitching your business to local media, industry publications, and that's a real big important piece as well because your business is always better when other people are talking about it. And as we've become aware that that is something that works, we've been talking more and more about digital PR, right? So we know about traditional public relations. You get a publicist and you try to get and they try to get you into news stories. But now there's a digital spin to it, digital PR. And we've got a whole digital PR team. We put together this webinar a few weeks ago that talks about it. So if you feel like this is where your business is and you want to implement this strategy, you want to get your business into the news cycle, this will be a good webinar to watch to understand that whole process and how you can make that happen. All right, we're making good time. We've got about 10 minutes left. So let's go ahead and go into the fourth and final way your business can increase your visibility in AI search. And it's a real important one. So, last but not least, it's using tools and data. And then using that to iterate your strategy. So, Alex, what do we need to know about this?
Okay, yeah. So tools and data. I think in traditional SEO, there's no shortage of tools to use to do traditional SEO, and there's plenty of data. But tools and data on AI have been sort of a black box until quite recently. But it's important to remember that you can't guesses and one size fits all strategies don't work for AIs because AI visibility is dynamic, right? It changes. There are multiple LLMs and they change all the time. Just as one notable example from the two leading LLMs, ChatGPT and Google AI mode, they use different sources, as we already discussed, right? So ongoing monitoring is essential. You may feel that you achieved something with ChatGPT and it could be gone the next day, or it could not be happening in Google AI mode, for example. Tools are the only way to really keep your thumb on the pulse of that, right? Uh, and just to really reiterate what I was saying about the ChatGPT and Google AI mode overlap of sources, it's only about a 32% overlap. That's not enough to go on. right? So again, one size fits all strategies are just simply not going to work.
Yep. And Alex, how can a business, um, or especially a non-technical business or professional, how can they use like SEMrush data to spot AI visibility gaps without getting overwhelmed?
Yeah, great question. So we have tools. We have a suite of AI visibility tools now that can speak to, of course, experts, but also to absolute beginners. And we put it into really easy to understand uh, terminology. Basically, our tools tell you where the gaps are, right? So you will see, hey, I've got these competitors and they're showing up when for this many prompts about that are referencing or about my industry and I am not. Here's what the prompts are. Or, hey, I'm showing up this many times as a mention or a citation in this LLM. And then you can compare that quickly to your competitor. And then the tool recommends actionable strategies, sort of like we're doing today, things you can do, specific things you can do to bump those numbers up, to see all those numbers moving in the direction we want, which is up and to the right.
Yeah, I think one thing to note here is that, tools like SEMrush, they tell you where the gaps are, but it's when you are working with experts that is going to tell you how to use that data, how to use that insights to close the gaps. And you see some of the faces here. These are all my colleagues here at Local IQ that work on the SEO side of the house. And these are experts that work very closely with our clients and work very closely with your business, if you'd like us to. And these experts, we're using these SEMrush tools as a part of our day to day to identify gaps. But then the experts here are putting the strategies in place to close those gaps for all of our clients here. One of the questions that came through is it's a lady. She's from a charity, and she says, "Well, what advice do you have if we don't have the funds to have all these subscriptions to all these AI tools?" Well, the beauty here is when you're a customer of Local IQ, you get the full suite and access to SEMrush. All of our clients get access to that by way of our expert team. And so that's one cost savings right there. So I want to just encourage you to think about the data, the tools that you might be able to use, like SEMrush. But Alex, can you give us maybe just one more quick action that businesses can take to start using data to help them inform and optimize their strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. So you may have detected a theme here in some of the strategies that I'm big on not getting overwhelmed because this has been a lot and it continues to be so, a lot of change, right? So my next recommended action is don't try to measure everything, right? Pick instead one thing to start and measure it consistently. Once you feel confident about all that, you can add more, but for now, measure one thing consistently. So I would choose from one of the following. Uh, Branded versus non-branded search impressions, right? So this is search impressions that you can see where somebody is searching your brand name, that would be branded, versus somebody searching something that's relevant to your business services or products, but not with your brand name. So track that, or track your traffic to top service pages. And if you want to get fancy, you can add as well as the referral source to see where that traffic is coming from, whether it's coming from traditional search, from AI platforms, social media, so on and so forth. And then third, you could track the number of reviews or mentions month over month, right? So for this would be those directory sites, Google Business Profile, Yelp, tracking all of those just to see get a directional sense of where you're headed with that foundational visibility framework that we discussed earlier in the webinar. And optional, you can also try out SEMrush's AI visibility tools. I'm a bit biased, but they are excellent. Or you can simply track trends in Google Search Console. You can see many of these things, many important bits of data in Search Console, which is free. So again, tie this back to why this matters. Only 32% of sources overlap between ChatGPT and Google AI mode. You're not going to have a consistent or clear idea of where your business is in AI search as a whole. You might be able to query one LLM and get different answers every day, but you will not be able to keep up with all the change happening with it. We have two major players, but many others now, right? And remember, AI visibility changes over time. So static optimization strategies don't work. So be sure you're measuring the things that matter.
No, thanks for sharing that, Alex. Also, I put it into the chat. You see it on the screen. We have an SEO audit tool on our website as well. That if businesses go to it, you just put in your website address, and it'll check how your website is faring on just about all things related to SEO. And new as of this year, several things related to your AI visibility as well. So it'll check to make sure, or it'll check whether or not your website has the LLM file, the file that websites need to have in order for AI, large language models to understand what's on your website. When you do this audit, it'll check to see if your website can communicate with these AI systems. It'll look for things like schema. We've talked about your website needs to be like technically structured in the most appropriate way. And then it'll even give you an indication as to how often, how frequently your business is coming up already in these AI overview citations. So I just put that link in the chat. That's something that you all can do right now, like in the background as we kind of wrap up here and go to Q&A. So thank you for that. So let me just go ahead and quickly give you this, I would say, a 30-day action plan, a summary of everything we talked about today. If there's one takeaway today from the research, it's that AI visibility is engineered. It's not, your business is not going to come up by just luck. You have to be intentional about it. It's not about chasing algorithms, it's about building trust at scale with these AI systems and making them understand that your business is credible and reliable and it has the answer that the people who are searching on their platform is looking for. So that's what you need to communicate through your website. And you'll be able to do that if you focus on the foundational data, you focus on making sure that your website is answering the real questions that real customers are asking. We talked about that. And then you got to understand that we're in this new wave of digital marketing. The same metrics that we were tracking last year in Google Analytics may not be the same metrics that your business wants to be able to or needs to track this year. And so you got to be open and educate your stakeholders and make them aware of the new metrics, the new KPIs that are proving to be valuable for your business. So good deal. Thank you, Alex, for all those great insights. I think you made it really simple, very actionable. We've got probably 2 minutes left, so I want to try to get some questions answered. And if we aren't able to get to your question, don't worry. We'll put a blog out on our website that'll answer as many of these questions as we can within the next few days. So stay tuned. And if you do have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat because we'll try to answer as many as we can. Um, One question that came through, Alex, if I can, what advice would you give to businesses that are using Google Analytics? When do you think Google Analytics might start to include some type of AI results or visibility? Do you have any insights to that?
Yeah, yeah. So I do think that Google Analytics will evolve quite a bit to meet the challenges of AI search analytics. However, there are already some things I would rate them as somewhat complex, but some things you can do with Google Analytics to see referral traffic from AI sources. So that can be really helpful for getting an idea of where your traffic is coming from. Um, so yeah, I would look into that. We have some great resources on the SEMrush blog that can help you set up those kinds of things. And then of course, set up all your other key events tracking and all those good things that can help you understand what then happens with that referral traffic from AI.
And let's see, another question is, we are a brewery in a very crowded marketplace at a time of significant difficulty in the hospitality industry. Um, any advice for how they can get noticed and build trust? This is a brewery in a very crowded marketplace.
Um, yeah, so how can a brewery get noticed and trust? So definitely it's going to come down to reviews. This is a thing people
Yeah, I think so too.
yeah, are kind of Googling last minute, right? Breweries near me, maybe you have travelers, tourists in town, something like that. So definitely would focus on all those good local SEO signals. They're going to matter just as much, if not more, for AI search. Um, from there, of course, a lot of things we mentioned in this webinar are going to matter, and perhaps I didn't make it as clear as I should have. A lot of these things, actually, all of these things, also matter for traditional SEO. So you're kind of killing two birds with one stone by doing all the things we've discussed so far.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you're in that hospitality space, those reviews as well as user-generated content, making it fun and creating those areas of your business where people want to take pictures, they want to take videos, and then encouraging them to share that onto their socials and tagging. Because again, even these LLMs are looking to people's Instagram channels, the LinkedIn profiles. It's not always about your business's profile on those channels, but it's also sometimes about the content that other users are putting on those channels that mention your business too. So remember that. All right, I want to be mindful of time. We've got a lot of questions in. I appreciate our colleagues in the background who were answering some of those questions along the way. But don't worry if we didn't get to your question. Just stay tuned to the Local IQ blog within the next couple of days, and we'll make sure that we include those answers. And you'll get the recording and the slides for this session as well in your email within 24 hours. So, Alex, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us these insights. Um, we look to Semrush. I mean, you all are a partner, but that aside, just for the industry, you all are a huge voice, a huge thought leader in the space. And so, really appreciate just being able to hear directly from you where things are going and the strategies that businesses should be implementing in order to increase their visibility on AI. So, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you to everyone who attended. It was my pleasure.
Absolutely. All right, good deal. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today on today's webinar. Feel free as you exit to take a look at that poll in the chat area and let us know your feedback. We hope that today was helpful, and we hope that we see you at our next webinar. See you soon.